okay, steering wheel holder. I think I finally got my lighting figured out. So I'm going to be able to do more videos at night, although I am going to be changing some things that I do, changing the way that I do certain things on YouTube. There's going to be some changes. So I just woke up and I've got this reefer on Fuel Hog. It's full of 40,000 pounds of steak. And it's on Fuel Hog, which means it is not ever shut off. So you can probably hear it humming back there. But that also means this truck next to me. Now, he was parked. This is a Target truck. He was parked properly earlier. And when I woke up, he had turned around. He had pulled out of the spot, turned around and pulled back in. Because he didn't want to be right next to that running reefer. But man, it helped me sleep well, which is kind of what I wanted to talk about in this video. It is Labor Day. Well, Labor Day night. So it's Monday night. And you know, seeing all these messages about company this, company that, picnics and all this stuff, and it's like, well, I'm really happy that you got your beer and your hot dogs and all that stuff that we brought to you, but truck drivers are out here laboring. And you know, I don't say that to play a victim. I know there's a lot of people working on Labor Day. Hospitals, police men and women, you know, law enforcement, fire departments. There's a lot of industries where everybody's working today. So not just like, oh, it's just us truck drivers, but it does suck. It reminds me of Christmas when I was out here on the road a few years ago. I talked about it on YouTube when Love's down in Florida. I was in Florida. Jen and I both were down in Florida on Christmas Eve, and they were playing that song. I don't know what the title of it, but I'll Be Home for Christmas, in the truck stop on Christmas Eve. I thought that was in such poor taste. Such poor taste. It was so depressing, you know, when the only people in that truck stop on Christmas Eve are people that will not be home for Christmas. So to be playing that song, you know, it was just like salt in a wound. And that's how it is seeing all these companies, organizations. There's one in particular, I'm not going to call them out, but there's one that sort of has some regulation involvement in the trucking industry. There's one that represents a lot of the trucking industry, posting about their picnics today. And I thought, boy, that is just bad optics, and you're not really reading the room. You know, it's one of the things that used to aggravate me about Prime. And now I just don't pay that much attention to the messages anymore. But I used to see this, hey, Hertz Donuts or someone is here at the terminal in Springfield, so if you're here, come get a donut. And it's like, you're sending that message to thousands of people that you know are not there and that can't be there. At least figure out a way to have those messages only go to truck drivers that are within 30 miles or something. Not, you know, I don't get butthurt about that stuff. I'm just like, it's just the things you notice. So on this day of laboring for us truck drivers, I've actually got a good amount of sleep, and I've noticed this. I'm really curious to see how you drivers out here watching this video, what your take is on this, because like back when I was training, I always told my students, you sleep when you can. Sleep when you can. And that's a hard routine to get into, especially if you're someone like me who doesn't, in my normal day-to-day, like if I'm not out on the road, even when I was working a 9 to 5 while I was home, I live on very little sleep. And sometimes it sucks, but I make it work. It's just very little sleep. And I make it work. Like if I have to go to clock in at 9 to 5 and I have only slept 3 or 4 hours, I just make it, I just power through it and make it work. That does not work when so right now I've got 40,000 pounds of steak. So the truck and trailer are basically at 75,000 pounds. When you're in control of something that weighs 75,000 pounds, that's moving 65 miles per hour around a lot of other machines with humans in them, you cannot be sleepy, fatigued, or tired. It is wildly dangerous. But in most scenarios at home, it's fine if you're tired. You're not putting anyone in danger. If you go to work at a Amazon warehouse and you're scanning books or something like that, you're not. Now, if you're running forklift and things like that, okay, yeah, maybe. But you're not. But it's a couple people you're putting in danger. It's not like you're gonna see a little blip right there. It's because my alarm went off. When you're out here on the road, there's a Greyhound bus passing you. That Greyhound bus is doing 75 miles per hour. It's got 50 people on board. And, you veer off the road and veer into that bus, and all of a sudden, you know what I mean? Like, you just can't play around with that. You cannot be sleepy or tired driving a truck, especially if you drive at night like I do. And this was always a constant battle when I was teaming. It was way more difficult when I was teaming because I swear I was like it was, even when I was getting good sleep teaming, I never felt really rested. You know what literally never. I never felt, no matter what I did when I was teaming, I never felt well rested. And that's a sucky feeling. So, but when I was teaming, Jen and I learned really, really quick that when you're teaming, you sleep when you can, man. It doesn't matter if it's a half hour, an hour, or 2 hours, especially if that truck is parked for 4 or 5 hours. Man, a lot of people out there think that you get into trucking and if you're stopped for 4 or 5 hours and you happen to be within walking distance of a big, what are those outdoor malls, outlet malls or something, that you're going to be able to just go screw around for the whole time you're parked there. You could, but really, ultimately, what you're going to want to do most of the time is sleep. Because if you don't, you're going to pay a price. And there is nothing worse than starting to feel a little bit tired when you're going through the mountains in the middle of the night in a 75,000 pound vehicle. Like, I'll do everything I can to avoid that scenario. So I sleep when I can, every chance I get. And it's just not the way I'm programmed. I'm programmed to just run on very little sleep, but I just can't do it driving a truck. Like, I just sleep whenever I can. So I ended up sleeping like 12 hours today. It was crazy. Not 12 hours consecutive, but 12. I was parked for like 14, I think, 14 or 15. So I got up in the middle of the day and went showered and all that good stuff, and came back out, and I was like, well, see, when I parked here, I was extremely tired because I've driven all night. So I slept a good long chunk, 7 hours or something. Went inside, got showered, did all that stuff. Then when I come back out, so then my head starts thinking, okay, well, if I stay awake from now until the time that I leave tonight, then I'm going to be tired because I haven't slept all that time. It's like I start playing these scenarios in my head, and I'm like, crap, I can't not get more rest closer to the time that I leave. So I want to go back to sleep, even though I don't want to go back to sleep. I don't want to go back to sleep, but I want to go back to sleep. Does that make sense? So it's just, I have not had any problems. And I've been running hard for the last couple of weeks. But I find if you find it hard to sleep with your schedule, maybe try switching to nights, because I promise you, you drive 500 miles overnight and you get parked at 7 a.m., you're going to have zero problems going to sleep. Zero problems. That's probably, if I had to point to something that I like the most about solo driving, it's the fact that this truck has to be stopped for 10 hours. Legally has to be stopped for 10 hours. And that's good, solid sleep. Like, I feel rested very often when I'm solo driving, that in a way that I did not feel teaming. So I was just curious on your take on that, because it's an interesting flip-flop for me, being that I thrive on very little sleep when I'm not running a truck. But when I'm running a truck, I have to force the issue, because I can't thrive on very little sleep the way that I can in any other scenario. So, and nor should you want me to, right? Like, if I hear a driver bragging about this, oh yeah, you know, I only slept 3 hours yesterday, but I'm fine. I don't feel comfortable with that. Like, I don't want to be near a truck where the driver only slept 3 hours yesterday. I don't want to be anywhere near that. Like, get away from me. I don't care if you say you can power through it. That is not enough rest to be moving a 40-ton rocket down a mountain. So, man, I had this spot picked out because there was no parking spot on the other side of it. And of course, someone made a parking spot on the other side of it. I did the same thing a couple nights ago. I parked against the curb. So there was no parking spot next to me, and no way that you could bonus park because there was a curb there and grass. So this cattle hauler, I wake up, I sent Jenna pictures of it. I wake up and there's this cattle hauler who had backed his trailer over the curb and just parked the trailer in the grass. So it's no longer the case that if you find yourself an in parking spot with a curb there, that you're protected from someone parking on the other side. I just parked there anyway now. Man, this bonus parking has gone to a whole nother level. Anyway, if you were home, well, in all scenarios, happy Labor Day to everybody, especially the drivers out there, or anyone who's laboring on Labor Day. Hopefully it was an enjoyable day. If you see a truck driver out there, or someone who works on a day like this when you didn't have to, be sure and give them a thanks. I think probably one of the things about being in the trucking industry is that you're always around people that have to work that day too. Like, if you go inside of a TA, so I went and showered today. There's a dude cleaning showers. There's people at the restaurant. There's people at the counters. Like, we're all in it together. If you go to a shipper or receiver, they're all working. You know, we're all in it together. It's the industry. It's not just the drivers. So I would say that to my fellow drivers too. You need to thank other people as well, because while you're saying, and I've seen a lot of drivers throughout the day online saying, oh, well, we have to work today. So do a lot of people. Basically everyone, in most of the people if you're at a truck stop, there's a lot of people working there. If you're a customer, shipper, receiver, there's people working there. So it's not just the drivers, it's trucking in general. Distribution centers exist for trucks. That's why they exist. Their whole purpose is to take product off of trailers, hold on to it, and then distribute it into other trailers. That's the reason for distribution centers. That's their existence. So they are in trucking too. There's a lot of us out here working. So anyway, all right, guys, be safe, make good decisions. As always, drive to thrive. I'll talk with you soon.